Only maybe 3 authors or so answer each question. Some of these questions are intentionally chosen for you specifically. You'll know those when we get to them. But if you've got a good answer for this one, maybe you know a good story, take your turn. Only probably 3 or 4. Only probably 3 or 4 sentences if you would. So we get everyone in, and not too long. Be sure not to dominate the conversation.
Jim is clearly enchanted with every word we have to say.
Oh. Of all the books that I have read and reviewed this year, Shannon Hales have been some of them. Marvin Sonar, the famous literary theorist, once said that all fiction is somewhat autobiographical. How do characters and events in your stories reveal something of the people and experiences from your own life?
We all write vampire books now.
Good one. Good answer.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm leaving.
Well, I know I put myself into my villains, almost like.
When I was young, I actually was a fictional character.
I was a fictional character.
Wow.
We've all been stunned into silence.
You said Stephanie was going to answer everything.
The embarrassing moments in many of my books actually did happen to me, which is why you shouldn't worry about embarrassing yourself because it can pay off in fiction.
Well, you know, we were talking last night about how it's the real things that people question. So we make up these worlds and everything that happens, and then we'll put like 1 or 2 details that really happened in our lives, and those are always the ones. That's how it happens to you in Twilight. Those are the ones people question. Like, that's impossible. Your editor says, no one would do that. You're like, that's the only thing that really happened.
This is on?
Yeah.
The vampire part, they have no problem, ever. You know, like, okay, yeah, sure, vampires can read minds and sparkle, and that's fine, but nobody actually falls down that much, so.
She's cute. Can you shut
Now
up?
that you're famous and successful. Is there someone in your past, perhaps a teacher or a friend, maybe a boyfriend or girlfriend to whom you'd like to say, thanks for believing in me, and is there someone else in your past, perhaps a teacher or a friend, boyfriend or girlfriend, who didn't believe you would ever amount to anything? You would like to say something else. What would you like to say to that person?
Let's keep it PG.
Thank you, my wife. I love you. Thank you. Big point.
His wife as well.
But that cost you the entire advance, right? Remember? Okay.
Actually, in the back of one of my graphic novels, I thanked by name my high school principal, my English teacher, and my guidance counselor, and referred to them all as self-serving morons. Without them, I would probably have been running Time Warner by now.
Well, by the way, I decided I'm sick of like dedications that are like overly sappy, which by the way I love my wife very much. And my first book, very sappy her. So my next book is actually being dedicated to Dwight K. Schrute. And yes, bears do beat Battlestar Galactica.
Balls to go.
Dedicate one of my books to Colin Firth.
Calling for it.
He has not called me. So sometimes the gamble pays off and sometimes it doesn't.
My shout out to those who doubted me in high school was that I used to be kind of a nerd, and now I write the books that nerds read.
So geeky.
Well, I think it's logical to jump ahead to question 4 then. What sort of young person were you? Were you the quiet one in the back, the star athlete, the rowdy troublemaker? Did you smoke cigarettes in the school bathroom? Or maybe stay after school to help the teacher clean the pictures? Show us you at age 14.
I refuse to answer that question.
Can you say mullets?
Oh.
They used to be cool, by the way.
No.
My mom. Who is here? Who gave me my home haircuts? Thank you.
Brandon said I should answer that one, and I said I'm not going to because I was boring. And that is, at 14, I was boring. Absolutely. Just, I read books quietly. No, I wasn't good at that. I didn't have talents. I just read. So, I mean, the inspirational part of that is you can be the total boring nerd and read books, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have a future. So.
Okay, we gotta hear from Miss Pink here now. Come on, Lainey. Lainey is hilarious and super brilliant, so don't we want to know what a girl with pink hair used to be like when she was 14?
I waited until I was 35 to dye my hair pink. And I was completely a normal, good kid in high school because my brother, who was a year older than me, we called him the demo child. He did everything first. And he had a mohawk and he was really in trouble all the time. So I think I was completely on the opposite side of the spectrum. And I was a good student and an athlete, and it was very, very dull.
When I was 14, I was the only kid I knew who actually was grounded from going to the library. That is absolutely true. And all my friends would lie and say that they were going to the library but really go to the mall, and I actually lied and said I was going to the mall but went to the library. That's a true story, Dad. What in God's name did you do to the library? I was 14, I was going into adolescence. And he was got the National Geographic.
I saw those issues.
Oh my gosh.
The answer to this question might be helpful to a lot of us. How many of us are aspiring writers? How does your imagination work? Do you get a story idea in a flash and race to get it all written down? Or do stories unveil themselves as you write them? Do the actions of your characters ever happen on the page and surprise you? How does your imagination?
If it was in Tolkien or Star Wars, it is in my books.
Oh yeah.
Okay, it's just too funny.
I used to think that other writers were lying when they said that characters would take over and take over the story, because I just thought they were trying to make the rest of us feel bad. Because that hadn't happened to me, and sometimes it does now, but most of the time it's just a lot of hard work and waiting for those wonderful moments where the characters finally step up. And yeah, a lot of hard work, brainstorming, and moments of brilliant fun interspersed.
I was always like creative little spaced out kid kind of guy, big, huge daydreamer. So the way my imagination started developing stories was I'd see them kind of like a movie in my head. I go back and do them over and over and over again. And then I usually have a start to finish kind of idea. But then what happened? Your brain. Somehow, something happened.